Well, welcome to chapter 28 in our energy bus journey. We got a nice short chapter today, but there's a little bit of a turn of events that's pretty interesting that we're going to see in just a moment. Now, I don't know about you, but I definitely can relate to George at the beginning of this chapter because he's walked into the office just like he owns the place and he's ready to love and inspire his team, but then suddenly, that thought of self-doubt hits him when he sees the size of the challenge. Have you ever felt that way? That feeling where you start out inspired, you're full of confidence, and then suddenly doubt starts to drain the energy, kind of like there's a hole in your bucket. And that's when you go to use that confidence and you notice that it's almost empty. It's been slowly leaking out this entire time. Well, that's where George found himself. But here's what he knew. He knew he had to plug the hole in the bucket. Even if he was afraid, he had to get the inspiration that he was holding over to his team. But as he's there fighting that doubt, here's a twist we didn't see coming. Look who shows up. It's Michael. Michael shows up and he wants back on the bus because he heard things were changing. He heard that George was becoming a different leader. But did you notice what happened during George's conversation with Michael? At first, that self-doubt that had just set upon George was really, really strong. But as George kept moving forward, as he stayed in the dialogue, that doubt started to fade. George became more and more clear, settled, and even more confident. And I think that's a perfect example of how self-doubt, when we get in our own heads, in the silence, tries to stop us. But if we keep moving forward, confidence will follow. Now, George had been doing a lot of work on himself over the last few chapters, and now he's discovering a key leadership insight. And that insight is trust is a choice. We can either operate with faith and move forward, even when we don't see all the details and how they're going to work out, or we could choose to live in fear, which paralyzes us and keeps us stuck. And he actually says on page 128, if I can trust in God, in myself, and in my team, then they can trust in each other and in me. You see, the fear he felt earlier, it had transformed into faith, and that faith had turned into resolve. So here's my reflection question for you. When was the last time you chose faith over fear? I want you to think about what happened as a result. And how can you apply that lesson the next time that doubt creeps in? I believe it's important that not only we think of these things, but that we write them down, because choosing faith over fear is not a one-time decision. It's something that we have to do again and again. It becomes a daily practice often. Well, George has big things coming up, including learning rule number 9, which we are going to dive into tomorrow. I'll see you then.